Governor J.B. Pritzker unveiled his state budget proposal today before his annual State of the State address.
Illinois Capitol Bureau Chief Max Cotton joins us from Springfield now with reaction to both the budget and the governor's speech. Max?
Well, hey, Daniel and Raja, and there were plenty of applauses from Democrats and at times even Republicans, although at times it did get pretty tense in the chamber on the Republican side of the aisle. And after the speech, they slammed his proposals.
We together have met this moment that we are in. Do not let the doom grifters steal your optimism about what's ahead for Illinois. Our future is bright and opportunity lies ahead.
The next step in cementing that future, the fiscal year 25 budget.
Our FY25 budget proposal makes some hard choices. I wish we had big surpluses to work with this year to take on every one of the very real challenges that we face. It's important to note that while this budget is tight this year, our fiscal house is in order.
Despite facing tough decisions, Governor Pritzker's asking lawmakers to pass the largest budget in state history at more than $52 billion. It includes more money for education, particularly early childhood, in which the governor is looking to add 5,000 more publicly funded preschool seats through the Smart Start initiative. He also hopes to reduce homelessness, and he's asking lawmakers to spend more than $10 billion on pension liabilities and to start requiring the state be on pace to cover its entire pension obligation by 2045, as opposed to the current 90% goal. This was welcome news to the state's comptroller, Susana Mendoza. She called the governor's proposed budget responsible and disciplined.
So it is a year in which I was really looking to see a holding of the line, really no new non-essential spending, and a very targeted approach to maintaining fiscal stability and fiscal discipline. He checked every single box.
Republicans were less enthusiastic.
It is the worst budget speech I've ever heard, and I've heard many.
Topping the list of frustrations for State Senator Jill Tracy, migrant crisis spending, as the governor is asking for an additional $182 million to combat the crisis. And Governor Pritzker's proposal increasing tax revenues by more than $800 million. It includes raising the sports betting tax from 15% to 35%, increasing the cap on the corporate net operating loss deduction to $500,000, and capping the sales tax retailer's discount.
We have tax on tax on tax, and now the governor wants to raise another $1 billion in increasing taxes, and it's going to come eventually on Illinois taxpayers.
Overall, Republicans are calling on Governor Pritzker and Democratic lawmakers to prioritize spending on Illinois residents without raising taxes. And obviously, this is just the beginning. The governor's budget is not final. Over the next several months, lawmakers will be debating and eventually building that state budget. Reporting live in Springfield, Max Cotton, WGEM News.